Hola, Animigos, and welcome to Keyframers Season 3, the animated collaborative coding live stream where we bring imaginative user interfaces to life. I'm your host, Stephen Shaw, but you may know me as @Shashaw.
And I'm your host, David Khourshid, also known as @DavidKPN. Hopefully I'm not muted this time.
You appear to be coming through, but
right.
Please pipe up in the chat if there is no audio for David. We definitely want audio for David.
Or if you just don't want to hear me, you could just make it known in the chat.
I want to hear you, David.
All right.
I think the world wants to hear you as well. At any rate, together we are coding compadres, animation amigos, Boolean buddies, and keyframe companions.
So we're going to be creating an animation challenge, actually, from scratch, live using HTML, CSS, and maybe even some JavaScript today. As always, we're happy to answer any questions that you may have, so please reach out in the chat or the comments.
That's right. And this show is supported by our sponsors, CodePen at codepin.io, and CSS Tricks at css-tricks.com, and viewers like you. You can pledge at patreon.com/keyframers, or buy some of our developer shirts, stickers, and more at keyframe.rs/merch. We've got some links available below, so check those out. David, did you know there's actually a sale happening right now?
Sale?
A sale on our merch.
Fire sale?
No, nothing's on fire.
Sale.
No, nothing is on fire, fortunately. But yeah, you should check that out. There's a good portion off of all our merch, so yeah, head over there and check that out.
Nice. I got 2 of those shirts. I need to get more.
Yes, you do. So cool. So talk us through what's happening today. What are we looking at here?
So I self-solicited a challenge. So as I was scrolling through Twitter, I saw a post by Corey House, and if you don't know who Corey House is, I really recommend you follow him because he does a lot of really educational, really cool things. He's a React consultant and also a 7-time MVP from Microsoft. I work at Microsoft. I have no idea how to become an MVP. I guess you could consider me a minimally valuable programmer, which in that case I am an MVP. So yeah, he's a developer, teacher, speaker, and he got stumped on something that all of us have gotten stumped on at least one time in our careers. It doesn't matter how good you are, this is just tough. And do you remember the good old days of Google Inbox?
Yes, actually. I miss it greatly.
Yeah, so Google Inbox had this really cool user interaction where when you clicked a row, it expanded in place, and so all the other rows just sort of pushed down. So what Corey House is trying to do is something that looks pretty similar, actually, and dare say that it is influenced by the original Google Inbox user interaction.
Yeah, and so part of the problem, I guess, is it's a table. Like, tables are one of the oldest HTML elements, and they can be hard to work with in a lot of ways. So a lot of people have trouble with them, especially for something like this. We've got like an expansion, we've got animation, we've got other things moving around smoothly. Like, there's a lot of little things. It may not look visually impressive in this form, but the actual animation itself has a lot of intricacies to it.
Yeah, that's a funny thing. Sometimes the tiny interactions are the ones that seem invisible are the hardest ones to do. So
yeah, I think we've got our work cut out for us, but we should have some tips and tricks along the way.
All right. So, how should we approach this?
Let's get into the code. So I've done a little bit of setup, just getting some a basic table set up, matching kind of what is in his mock-up. So table has a lot of extra elements that you may not have seen before. So, there's the root table, of course, and then T-head is kind of a group element that allows you to specify, like, this is the heading of the table, and, like, this kind of sets, this is where you'd, like, set the column titles and everything so that it makes sense semantically. And then TR is, of course, a table row. I think that's what it stands for. I've always assumed.
Yeah, I would guess so too.
And then TH is kind of table heading of sorts. There's probably a different thing that it's abbreviating, but anyway, these are just describing the columns. And then down below, you'll see T body. So T head and T body, that kind of makes sense. There's actually a T foot as well. So T body just kind of tells the browser, like, this is the body of the table, and so we've got a row in there with our 4 columns, and then we have one down below that's gonna span those 4. So I'll go ahead and drop some ipsum in there. Not that much ipsum, but a little bit of ipsum. There we go. So there's our table.
Yeah.
And I've applied a little bit of CSS. Right now it's mainly just table border collapse, and table layout fixed. Those just help smooth out a few browser things.
So I guess one way we could approach this is how we approached most of our animations, in which we tried to first show the table row in each of its states, so expanded and collapsed, sans animation. Let's see. What do you think of that approach?
I'm sorry, say that again.
So basically what we could do is we could just show what it would look like expanded and what it would look like collapsed. And so I guess for that we need a few more rows just to really illustrate things.
Yeah. So one fun fact: a table can actually have more than one T body. So we'll copy this whole T body here, and we'll just paste that in, and that will give us our next row. So a T-body can kind of be used as like a group within the table to kind of make these cells linked a little bit, or make these rows linked a little bit. So the expanded details, will at least somewhat semantically be connected to the other area, and this also allows us to use like T-body to style and kind of group them that way. So that's the theory, at least. We'll see how that goes. So one thing I was going to do is go ahead and use the hidden attribute for our details. Let's get those guys out of the way.
How do we show them? It's a question.
That is the question.
Are we going to JavaScript this, or are we going to... what we could do is we could use target and actually have show details like be sort of a link of sorts.
Yeah.
Or do you not want to do that?
I don't want it to get like overly complicated in that way.
Yeah, that's true. So let's just I don't know, JavaScript it.
Yeah. So, right.
All right. So for each of the table rows, I'm just going to give like a data item, and so this you could imagine would be like the ID of the item. So it doesn't matter what these are. I'll call them 1 and 2. The words spelled out. So what I'm thinking.
Well, we probably need to target the actual T body. Because the whole thing changes style a little bit when it's toggled.
Right. Okay.
So what I don't know if what the easiest way to do that would be, but something like array from document query selector all show details. And then we'll use array.from's map function. So we've got our L, well, let's say button. And then we'll go.
So for each of the buttons, you're going to add a listener on that. And then what's your plan?
Well, so this is where jQuery would be helpful.
No.
Let's go let parent equal.
We cannot fall prey to jQuery. Resist the temptation.
I mean, how would you select the T body?
But there is a trick. It is called, I think.
Parents until.
Hold on. No. Dot nearest or dot closest. It's one of those, but it basically goes up the tree until it finds the parent. I think it's closest, actually. Element dot closest.
Yep. Traverses parents, heading towards the document root of element until it finds the node, providing the match.
Yeah. It's perfect. So you just do element dot closest T body. It's like jQuery built into the browser. I mean, it can't get much simpler than this.
Okay. So, all right. Let's say parent dot dataset dot open equals true. Sure, why not? And then let's go ahead and start a new little section of our CSS here. T-body data open equals true. We'll do background red.
CD Billard asks, not to ask you to run a use this moment, but what was the docs tool you just searched in, Shaw?
That's Dash app. Yeah, it's worth checking out. It's very helpful. Okay, nice. So that's working.
I believe that's it. Capelli.com/dash.
Yes.
All right, There we go. I actually haven't used it yet, but you know what? Maybe I will. It seems like it's pretty comprehensive. I wonder if the docs are kept up to date, like how it works, but that's really cool.
They do seem to be pretty in sync. I'm not sure exactly how it stays in sync. It's a little bit of a mystery, but yeah, it's super helpful. Okay, so now I've got it where it should toggle equals true. Let's do that.
What you could do is, let's see, parent.dataset.open equals. So if it's true, you could, I was going to say, then delete. Yep, there we go.
Else, parent.dataset.open equals true. Yeah, there we go.
Okay, so toggle is working.
Yes.
We do have it working. So now we just have to, that pesky hidden.
Yeah, so fun fact, hidden, it just gives some browser default styles of display none. So you can actually override those. So let's say down here, so we probably want a class for these. So class details. Let's apply that to both of them. And then we'll say dot details hidden. We'll say display block height 0, visibility hidden.
It's a little bit weird that it, so do we want a display block? Isn't it display table cell?
Sorry, yeah, table,
Table cell?
And actually, we want to apply this to the TR. I forgot. So we'll move that up to the TR there. Do that same thing up here, because we want to hide that entire row there. Nice. Okay, that should do it. All right. Let's see here.
Cool.
Yeah. So now, wait, is that working? Display.
Almost.
Display table cell height.
Table
row is probably what we want there.
Having some serious stretching. All right, there we go. It's not showing the details, but that's because you have that visibility hidden.
Yeah, I'm not sure why the height isn't applying there. So let's go into the inspector, because this was working earlier, I promise. Stack off visibility hidden. Okay, display 2. I think we just want display block there. So why is that?
Are you sure? Because display block is not going to give us what we want. We want it to behave like a column.
Like a row.
Or like a 4-row wide column. Or well, whatever it is.
Yeah.
My mind is still blown about the tables within tables thing. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. Oh, maybe we need overflow hidden.
Pop quiz. What does TD stand for?
TD.
Yeah.
Am I supposed to answer?
Maybe. I didn't know this. I looked it up and I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, table data is what I...
Yep, table data cell. Mm-hmm. Someone said table details. And no suggestions are not against the code of conduct. Can hidden behave like a Boolean? Sort of, yeah. I don't know how you would programmatically set hidden. Maybe it's just element.hidden. Let's find out. Yeah, it's element.hidden, and programmatically you could set that to true or false. So I'm guessing when you set it to false, it removes the hidden attribute from the elements. When you set it to true, it just has hidden in there, not hidden equals, and true as a string. So in that case, it behaves a little bit differently than elements.dataset.whatever.
I'm not sure why height is not working here.
What are you trying to do?
So I'm trying to set it up for flipping later.
Right.
So right now, hey, here's our toggle. Like, that's great. And technically we may not want to use hidden here anyway, because we're not actually toggling that in the JavaScript. We could, but if we want to keep the JavaScript simple, we can remove
this is what I was guessing. Is that not right? I mean, that looks right to me.
What did you do?
I had this.
Oh, for actual flipping, yeah. I was trying to get away with.
So, think about how it needs to. I mean, we could just have flipping. That's no big deal. But think about how, what's going to happen in the transition. We're going to have a bunch of rows moving, and those all need to move, unless you want to animate the actual height, and then you would just put height 0 pixels over here, or the pixels is redundant. You could just put 0.
Yeah, right. That's basically what I was going for, but it's cool.
Yeah, but that's not working. T-body not data open details height 0.
Yeah, I'm not. Maybe it's because table layout.
You know what? Yeah, maybe. Oh, what did that do? I would say let's display none it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, cool. And then we just want to make that table full width, which seems like it is. Nope, it's not. Just kidding.
Well, we don't want it full width if we're matching the animation, maybe.
Well, we want it to be wide enough. That's what I meant. We don't want the entire table to just. All right, fine. Yeah, we can do it as is. I am just confusing myself. Okay, so we have the show details toggle working. That's fine. So let's see. Is it time to animate?
I think so. Trying to do a little cleanup before we get there. Let's go ahead and style the details. Let's see, it has like a gray background. Yeah. Just kind of a gray background. Sure. And we'll give it some padding. Well, I guess that's going to be on the TD inside of the details there. Cool. All right. So yeah, how do you want to actually animate?
It's a good question. Like, personally, I would go straight to a flip approach, because that's what we're going to be doing for each of the rows. And you could transform each of the rows using translate, scale, whatever. That's all going to work fine. So, maybe we could do that. The problem is, like, if we try to do flip manually, which is, definitely doable, the problem is that you're going to have some way of managing each of the rows. Now, maybe we could do it manually and do it with just one row, like just as a demonstration, or we could bring the flipping library in. What do you think?
I think it's fine to bring flipping in here.
All right.
There are plenty of other episodes where we go into the intricacies of using flipping and doing it with vanilla JS. Here we're just we'll use flipping the library to kind of automate a lot of that for us.
Right. Now, flipping just simplifies things. It's easy enough, or not easy enough. I mean, to do it yourself, you just have to use the flip technique, which we talk about at length in various shows that we've done, especially doing it manually. So, but we're just going to save some time and use the library. So I'll go ahead and pull that in. And we'll also definitely explain like how it works, what's happening behind the scenes, because none of this is magic. It's just a lot of math that would take twice as long if we were to do it manually. So, yep. So we have this T body in here. To the rows. All right, you centered those. So I'm going to go ahead and add a data flip key.
We probably don't want to do vertical centering because that's going to throw off the animation.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so the way flipping works is every time we change something, we tell it, hey, something changed in the layout, and then flipping is going to go to work and inverts the tracked elements and then animate them smoothly out. So I'm going to call this data flip key 1, and we're going to have data flip key 2.
Sorry, where? Okay.
I'm not very clear. I'm just in the HTML right now.
Gotcha.
So, and yeah, eventually I will get around to just making this a version 2, but we're going to use the flipping that I've been using for years. So we have const flipping equals new flipping. Let me just make sure that that is actually there. But yeah, all flipping does is it does the math for you. So we'll keep it at that. And so we have to say, like, when we click, we're doing a layouts change. So we have to tell flipping, hey, a layout change just happened. And so two things have to happen. We have to do, man, it's actually been a while since I used my own library. We have to invert, and then we have to play. But there's an easier way to do that, and it's flipping.wrap. So we could say flipping.wrap, and we wrap this function. So we're basically wrapping the function that causes a layouts change. And so hopefully, okay, that's sort of works. We don't want that scaling to happen.
Right.
And there is a way to prevent that from happening. It's you could add the attribute data flip no scale. I believe. I think that's what you do. So let's try data flip no scale. Obviously, so my thinking for version 2 of this library is, and I talked to you about it a bit too, but it's all the library should do is provide you the variables so that you do whatever you want. You do your own animations. All right, there we go. So now we have data flip no scale, and so we have the rows moving in their appropriate place. I'm tempted to just copy pasta 2 and just make another one just to really highlight what's happening here. So I'm going to make this 3 and call it another 3 data. Okay.
All right. Now, if you're following along at home, so we added flipping, and that all that's doing is it's going to record what the state of the DOM is right when the button's clicked, and then it's going to run this action and get the state that it ends up in. So starting out, we've got the details closed. We click it, we end up with the details open. Flipping grabs those values and then inverts it, inverts anything with data flip key on it. And by invert, I mean it moves it back into the position it was in that very first state, and then it plays out the animation of it moving into that state. So it seems a little magical at the moment, but...
We explain it in depth in many, many places.
Yes. So one thing I feel like we need to do is instead of just doing data flip key on the T body, I think we need to apply it like to some of the rows as well, like the details row.
Well, not necessarily, because if you think about the details, it's always going to slide, or it depends what you want to do, but it's going to slide from the top to the bottom. It's going to maybe do a scale, something like that. And so there's different ways we could approach that where it doesn't need to know what its previous position is because its previous position is hidden. So,
yeah. But can we animate that in and out?
Yeah, sure. I mean, what we're doing is we have the data open and not data open. And so we could use that to actually, we could just do a simple transition. So we could say when it's not data open, data or data?
Data anyway. Is usually how I say it. Unless we're talking Star Trek, then it's data.
Yeah. So we could say transform, translate y, and then do like a -100%, and then we could say transform none over here. And so for details, yeah, you read my mind. Transform, yeah. And so that'll get us like sort of close to what we want. I mean, that seems to work. Not for the hiding bit. But
I don't know that that's actually working because it's going from display none, so we can't actually do it that way.
Oh, I mean the animation looks smooth, but maybe it's because you adjusted the Z index or something.
Yeah, I gave a background to the T body because that'll be part of the upcoming part of the animation is animating that background. So we'll get to that in a moment. But yeah, so one of the issues with transition is you can't transition anything from like a display none element. So and you can't transition like the display property or anything like that. So since this is display none, even though it's display table row down here, the transform is not going to apply. What we could do, target the TD inside, and that's still not going to work because the parent is display none, I'm pretty sure, but it's worth a shot here real quick. So let's see. Yeah, that's not doing anything. Whoa.
Don't mind me.
I am very much minding. All right.
It's weird how that works.
Now we can always do an animation on open because animation will run whenever an element is is displayed. So we can say details reveal. Translate y.
Oh.
Oh dear.
Did I mess something up? Was that me?
It seems that way. I'm not sure.
Okay, hold on.
Did you add an extra column or something?
No,
Okay.
I'm trying to add a background. And
no. Okay. So what we'll use there is pseudo elements.
Yeah. Oh, on the body. Okay. So what I was doing was I was adding a background elements to the row. And by background elements, I mean any element used solely for displaying the background. That's what's going to be the secret sauce right here, because that's what's going to do the magic expanding and collapsing that we saw in the original animation challenge.
Yes. So just quick, got that before in there, and we need to set position. Wait, so we have position relative there, so why is that?
Position relative should be everywhere, no?
It should be, yeah. Before index 1. Okay, that's
Weird.
Yeah.
Lots of things. So it's sort of like growing and shrinking and doing that sort of weird thing.
Right. So the way I would approach this is, so we'll keep the background on here, and then we'll do kind of a margin 81M, and that's going to go ahead and break it out a little bit. Do Z index 1 on these.
That's just a misery. Do you have any idea why it's sort of, doing that sudden growing and shrinking?
Sudden growing and shrinking.
Or maybe it's on my screen. I don't know. Let me do a refresh over here. Oh, never mind.
Yeah, let me
Ignore. Well, actually, don't. Never mind. Like if you show details and hide details on like the. Nope, never mind. It's fine.
Yeah. So the before, I think is snapping as part of it.
Yeah. There's some snapping going on. I'm not sure what that is, but whatever.
Yeah.
Very, very strange indeed.
Yeah.
But anyway, the goal is to get that white background behind the body, and yeah.
Yeah. So do that, and we'll want opacity. We'll want opacity 0 on that, and then we'll do on data open. So let's see. Yeah, so right on the data open. Before opacity 1. Just to see.
I'm getting some weird visual artifacts here.
Yeah, I don't think browsers like tables being animated. So let's see.
No. Strange.
T-body. And it's possible that it's related to the position absoluting as well.
Position absoluting?
Absoluting. So Paul McBride asking in the chat what we're working on. We're doing a challenge here. Let's go back to the original animation and look at that.
Well, I actually got rid of some of the things by adding will change transform. There's still some really weird visual artifacts, but it does the right thing now, sort of, I think.
Yeah. a little bit.
A little bit?
Yep.
That'll do.
So let's do that and that. Whoa.
I made it black. I don't know why. Well, I just want to see something change. So is it that we want to, and actually I'm thinking, can anything else go inside the body except for, TR?
No, with tables, the browser gets pretty strict on what can be nested in them, and that's part of why that background element was messing up earlier, because the browser was just forcing it out essentially.
Okay, so in essence, we want to animate that before elements.
Right.
Now, flipping doesn't support that, but we could map it out.
Sorry, what do you mean?
So
you want to animate like the height of it?
No, not necessarily. So in flipping.wrap, since we have access to we could access the elements before and after states, or rather its first and last states, and we could just get bounding client rect and figure out the percentage to scale the thing. Or is that not a good idea?
I'm not sure I follow on it, so you can try it. So you got it working. Just partially. It's just using transition and transform there.
So what I would do is like make it scale like faster than the animation, I guess.
Right.
In fact, if you remove this, let's see, details. Just futzing around the CSS right now. Aha, here we go. Because I really want to see how it looks without this. I mean, that already looks pretty close.
Yeah, it's getting there. So, part of the thing is, it's when you toggle it out, going straight to display none, the items below transition smoothly, but the background itself that's like surrounding it just snaps back into place. That's I mean, with a quick enough transition, it's not super noticeable, but it's definitely
yeah. That's one way of doing it.
And I don't think browsers like z-indexing table rows and stuff.
Yeah, we're really stretching the limits of.
Let's see, what are you working on toggling?
I'm just making it so it's one at a time. So if it's open, oh my gosh. Aha, yeah.
That should do it.
Yep. So now, yeah, we have one at a time, and we're still getting. Ah, man. So that just exposes more of the weird Z indexing that we've been seeing.
Right.
So I wonder, actually, what if one other strategy, and we don't really have to delete a lot over here, but this tpoly data open, what if we actually, this is going to be bad. I'm going to like scale 1.1 and see what happens. So, oh gosh. Maybe even 1.1 is a bit big, but yeah. Yeesh.
Oh, so we need to do this down here.
Like a scale 1.01
to toggle, yeah.
or something. And then so, actually I noticed if you click show details in multiple, like it just doesn't let you open it again.
Yeah, so the issue before was the toggling wasn't working, and now the toggling works once, but then it doesn't work again for some reason. What's off with our logic down there?
I don't know. Should have used a state machine.
And open out.
Yeah, browsers really don't like rows being transformed. That's my guess, because if you notice, like I even took out the before, that background element, and it's still like when the details come, it sort of just snaps into place. It doesn't, or like, so even if I comment this out, actually that actually works.
Let's see. What do you got?
Sort of. I mean, long story short, there's many ways that you could make the row break out of its table, and doing a simple transform is going to work. The only artifact from that is going to be that you're going to have all of your content inside the row stretched out a little bit just because you're doing a scale on the entire thing. But what you could do to remedy that is you could, and this is just for example's sake, we could definitely remove this if you don't like it, but we could do an inverse transform on each of those elements. And so to do that, that'd be a transform, scale, and then calculate 1 divided by 1.01, which I don't know what that is, but I'm sure that that's correct. So it looks correct to me. So it just looks a little weird, and we could even, top center or even top left might be a better thing to do. In fact, I would say top center probably.
I've got that applied up there.
And then now we don't have the background going all the way down to the...
Yeah, it's weird.
What happened there? Is that a Z indexing issue or something like that?
I think it's just wherever the background is a plot. Yeah, I don't... So you added the before element back in. So let's take that out again. Just to be sure.
Actually...
That's weird.
I might have a different idea. Again. Well, all right, so getting rid of the details animation, let's see. right now things are smooth so far. And so if we take into consideration this before elements, let me see where is that before elements supposed to?
So it's line 48. It's where it's declared.
48. Aha, you commented it out. Okay, so instead of transform scale 0.97, what if we do scale 1 over here and actually do a scale 1.01 over here, just as a thought experiment. It does a thing. I don't know if it's the right thing, but it does a thing. And it seems to work. We also have an opacity there, so that might be throwing off the animation. So if we remove this opacity, and then okay, so okay, I got it. So basically, we're sort of going to be faking this. So instead of a margin 1 rem, we have position absolute, top left 0. Okay, hey, check that out.
Yeah, we probably need to animate the box shadow.
Yeah.
1.2. Up a little bit more.
Honestly, as far as, good enough techniques, I'm not opposed to that.
Well, so that's partially why I was doing the opacity there. It was instead of animating the box shadow, but it's easy enough to...
Yeah, and then for the actual details, we could actually just set the animation back in and see what happens.
Yeah, so ideally we do like a wrapper element inside the details, and then and do some overflow hidden and all that to better handle it.
Doing this from memory. Then 0%, and then so yeah, let's try a clip path just for fun. I think we pretty much got this in the bag, so then this becomes 100%, 100%, and then that becomes 0%, 100%. So
close. So let's go to my good friend Clippy. CSS path maker.
Got that, because 0, 100. Wait.
Yeah, you were very close coming in. So here we go. There we go. Or sorry, that's the full one. So let's do that, and we'll do. So we want it to come in vertically, so we'll take off the Y coordinates there. There we go.
Yeah. So one problem with this, it's very laggy. I don't know if it's laggy for you. But,
yeah, it's not.
But let's add delay and see what happens, because maybe it just really doesn't like that it's both or forward.
Both.
Yeah.
I think it's just browsers don't care about tables anymore. So
browsers really don't like tables. That's a shame.
They do not have much optimization happening there.
So for the T-body data open, that box shadow is still being cut by, I don't know.
By the element underneath it?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Not sure what the best approach there is. Let's see. Yeah, because the Z indexing does not seem to matter at all. The browser's just doing whatever.
Yeah.
In the chat, Aaron saying clip hat seems a little over the top. Have you tried just using height 0 overflow auto? So
I added an alternate animation. It's just a very subtle, and actually I like it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, just opacity.
Yeah, does the job.
Yeah. I dig it.
All right. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's obviously a lot of cleanup we can do and a lot of augmenting to get
Oh yeah.
it, looking a lot more like the challenge animation here. But the core concept of revealing and shifting, we've covered. Part of the
You nailed
issue,
it.
part of the issue overall. Well, so why don't we get into Keyflections? What do you think?
Yeah.
So Keyflections. I got the intro animation back, and this is the part of the show where we do a quick review of the techniques used to build this animation. If you have any questions, ask us in the chat or leave a comment below. We'll be happy to answer.
Yeah, and if you've enjoyed watching us so far, you can support us by pledging at patreon.com/keyframers and subscribing to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/keyframers, and links are available below.
Yes. So today's animation is from a challenge that David signed us up for. So Corey House tweeted about this impossible animation, and so of course David said we can do it. So
yeah, game on.
Yeah. So we've got a pretty typical table here, but there's a show details button that reveals this kind of hidden panel. Everything shifts down, and there's kind of this highlighting of the current row as well. So here's what we did. Our table is relatively standard, but we do have multiple T bodies. So multiple T bodies are allowed in the spec, and we're kind of using them as containers here. You can't just wrap elements in divs or whatever within a table unless it's in like the actual TD, the table data itself. So we're using T bodies as containers, and then we've got some JavaScript that toggles a data open on those T bodies whenever it's clicked. Pretty simple JavaScript there, but we added the flipping library. Why don't you walk us through that, David?
Yeah, so the flipping library is just a simple abstraction for, what happens is the flip technique is you get the first position of the element, and that's done by element.getBoundingClientsRect. Then you do whatever happens to transform the layout. So in this case, we're changing a data attribute, we're doing some things, and the layout changes. So then we record the last position of the element after that layout transformation. And that's the L part of flip. Then there's the I. So this is what the library does. It takes the difference between the first and the last position, and it figures out, how do I make the last position look just like the first one? So basically look like nothing even happened. And so that's by doing negative transformations and things like that, just moving it into place so it's at where the original position of the first element was. And then there's P, which is play. And so that we just go from that inverted position to 0, which is its current position. And doing that, we have the illusion that things are moving smoothly from the first position to the last position. And so the flip library just handles that for you. We have a few episodes which we might link to which show how to do that manually, and it's not too much work. And in fact, it's really nice if you use CSS variables for it too. There's also a great article by Paul Lewis on flip animations that is considered the classic or the birth of doing this technique. So that uses the Web Animations API, and we have done that as well. So please check that out. And so, yeah, the flip library, we assign data flip keys, and these are unique for each of the elements just to track. Like when we go from one layout to another, we want to keep track of the positions of only the elements that have the data flip keys. In this case, we have data flip key equals 1, 2, and 3, and we're tracking their positions as the layout changes.
Yes. So that's these data flip keys here, and that just helps everything shift smoothly. Primarily, flipping can do a lot more than just what we're doing here, but it's certainly helpful for this kind of shifting. So yeah, for the actual selected T body, we've got we have a before element that we're using to give that kind of background expanding effect. And so that's applied to the actual T body, and we're transitioning the box shadow and the transform. We started out at scale 1, where it just fills up the container, and then down below, wherever it is, T body data open, we have the scaling happening there. We can clean up some of this stuff. There we go. We can actually do something like that. And it expands like that. Cool. So yeah, then the actual details element, we're doing a really simple animation on that, where it goes from opacity 0 and translate Y. And then we can actually trim the 2 out. Don't need that there. And that helps give that illusion of it dropping in as everything expands. But because we are going from display none on the details to display table row, we can't just do like a transition or something like that. So it has to kind of be faked. If we were diving a lot more into the JavaScript side of things, we could be setting height variables and like marking all this stuff to more smoothly translate all of that stuff. But for now, we tried to keep it simple, but with tables, browsers don't care too much about them anymore. So you run into various issues with layering, obviously, and just smooth transitions. We've ended up with a lot of visual artifacts and things like that because it's just not being handled well in the browser. So an alternate approach would be to just use display grid to kind of lay out all of this. The problem with that is just you've got to do a little more fixed values with your columns so that everything lines up, since subgrid isn't well supported yet.
Right.
At any rate, that's pretty close to what the original challenge is here. There's a lot of other minor things that could be improved, but I think this ended up in a pretty good spot.
Yeah.
And remember, if your animation is fast enough, people aren't going to notice. So
exactly. Yeah. It's the key to good animation.
Yes. So cool. Anything else you wanted to cover?
No, I think that's good.
Awesome. Well, that is our show. You've been watching Keyframers. If you've enjoyed this episode and would like to see more, you can support us by pledging at patreon.com/keyframers or buying our developer shirts, stickers, and more at keyframe.rs/merch. You can find all of our videos at youtube.com/keyframers. Subscribe to our channel there for more great content.
Yeah. Also, we do accept submissions for future episodes. So if you don't want me to hunt for challenges that are going to be really annoying to do, tweet at Keyframers with any animations, questions, or challenges that you would like to see on the air. So thank you for joining us.
That's right. And welcome to Season 3. Here we go again.
Yeah.
Woo. All right. Until next time, adios, amigos.
Adios.